Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the treacherous, shadow-filled streets of our favorite gated community. Grab your favorite beverage, settle into a comfortable spot, and let us untangle the incredibly complex web these residents are currently weaving. We have a massive amount of ground to cover, so let us jump right into the madness. Most people tend to believe that the loudest, most aggressive threats in the room are the ones you need to worry about the most. If you ask me, that is a fatal misconception. The truly dangerous individuals are not the ones screaming in your face. They are the ones smiling quietly in the corner, anticipating your next five moves before you even realize you are playing a game. This brings us directly to the escalating crisis surrounding Heather, who is rapidly becoming the most lethal epicenter of danger we have ever witnessed in this community. If you have been paying attention to the subtle shifts in power, you already know that the ground is completely crumbling beneath the feet of those who think they are in control. Right now, Andre is gearing up for what he believes will be a definitive confrontation. He is meticulously preparing to face Heather head on, ready to issue a severe and direct warning to back off. On paper, this sounds like the logical move of a desperate man trying to protect his life and his marriage. But let us look at this through a different lens. Andre is operating under the delusion that Heather is a standard blackmailer who can be intimidated by a stern voice and a puffed out chest. We have to consider the reality of who he is dealing with. Heather is not just a stalker, she is an international mastermind who thrives in the dark. If you ask me, this upcoming confrontation is not going to go the way Andre envisions. Heather is absolutely not the type of person to be subdued by a simple threat. In fact, she is the master of the feigned retreat. I fully expect her to look Andre in the eye, perhaps even shed a fake tear of understanding and pretend to accept his warning. She will lower her weapons just enough to make him exhale and drop his guard. And the moment he turns his back, believing he has won, she will resume her malicious agenda with twice the ferocity. Let me give you a specific example of how this psychological tactic works. Think of a seasoned martial artist facing a larger, angrier opponent. The master does not meet force with force, they yield, allowing the opponent's own aggressive momentum to pull them off balance, and then they strike the exposed nerve. Heather is doing exactly this. By faking compliance, she will make Andre believe his European secrets are safe, effectively blinding him to the knife she is slowly sliding into his back. This upcoming clash is not going to be the end of their conflict. It is going to be the catalyst that forcefully unearths even more devastating secrets from their shared past. What makes Heather's strategy so terrifying is how she is simultaneously weaving herself into the fabric of Danny's life. Heather is actively building a bond with Danny, and we all know this is not born out of a sudden desire for friendship. She has a deeply sinister agenda, and it is intrinsically tied to her history with Andre. By getting close to Danny, Heather is setting up an emotional landmine. You have to understand the sheer brilliance of this manipulation. If Heather becomes a trusted confidant to Danny, Andre is completely trapped. If he suddenly demands that his wife stay away from her new friend, he looks paranoid, controlling, and erratic. If he tells Danny the truth about who Heather really is, he has to confess his own dark European history, which would blow up his marriage anyway. Heather is forcing him into a psychological checkmate where every possible move leads to his own destruction. To truly grasp the horror of this, consider the example of a parasitic vine in a dense jungle. The vine does not simply chop down the massive, sturdy tree. Instead, it slowly wraps around the trunk, gently producing beautiful flowers that look completely harmless. It integrates itself into the tree's ecosystem until the roots are entirely choked out from beneath the soil. By the time the tree realizes it is dying, the vine is the only thing holding it up. Heather is the vine, and Danny is the unsuspecting ecosystem she is using to quietly suffocate Andre. What makes Heather even more formidable is her absolute autonomy. She has made it abundantly clear that she does not need Joey to intervene or manage her affairs. She operates with a chilling level of self-assurance, firmly believing she can handle any obstacle in her path without the backing of her brother. Her reputation for ruthlessness and emotional manipulation precedes her, and she wears it like a badge of honor. While Joey operates with a certain code, Heather is entirely untethered from basic human morality. Meanwhile, completely hidden in the background, Randy is still secretly trailing Heather on Joey's strict orders. Randy is playing a terrifying game of Russian roulette. He is a pawn trying to track a queen who already knows the layout of the entire board. It is only a matter of time before Heather realizes she is being shadowed, and when she does, Randy's life will be worth absolutely nothing. Joey thinks he is keeping tabs on the situation, but he is fundamentally underestimating his sister's awareness and her capacity for sudden, lethal violence. But Andre and Randy are not the only ones caught in Heather's crosshairs. We urgently need to talk about Smitty and Martin. Smitty's relentless investigation into the plasma ring at the Red Market has become a massive liability for Heather. Smitty is not just poking around. He is uncovering the foundational pillars of her entire criminal enterprise. His articles are generating so much undeniable traction that his editor is actually pushing to submit them for major journalistic awards. This level of public attention is the one thing a shadow syndicate cannot survive. Because of this, Smitty and Martin have become primary targets on Heather's immediate hit list. However, because Heather is a psychological predator, she is not going to just send a thug to break Smitty's legs. That would only validate his investigation and turn him into a martyr, drawing even more police attention. Instead, her tactics will be far more insidious. She is going to apply agonizing pressure, tease them, and manipulate their emotions to break them from the inside out. Let us look at a specific example of how this kind of warfare operates. If you want to destroy a house, you do not drive a bulldozer through the front door where everyone can see you. You introduce a slow, silent water leak into the foundation. By the time the homeowners notice the mold and the rotting wood, the house is already condemned, and they blame themselves for not catching it earlier. Heather is going to introduce that silent leak into Martin and Smitty's marriage and their professional lives. She will create scenarios that make Smitty doubt his own sanity, or she will threaten Martin's political career in a way that forces Martin to beg Smitty to drop the story. She wants them to destroy themselves so her hands remain completely clean. Our hearts really break for Smitty because his ambition and his dedication to the truth are blinding him to the collateral damage he is causing. He refuses to abandon the case, driven by a noble but dangerous obsession. But this investigation is no longer just about exposing a crime ring. It is inadvertently tearing open old wounds for the people around him. Smitty's intense focus and the resulting atmosphere of paranoia are unwittingly inciting severe anxiety for Chelsea and Kat. This brings us to a profound emotional realization about trauma. Chelsea is already spiraling, dealing with the haunting one-year anniversary of her kidnapping by Allison. When you have survived something that horrific, your nervous system is permanently altered. You do not just move on, you learn to manage the echoes. But right now, Smitty's dangerous investigation is creating an environment thick with tension, secrecy, and unseen threats. For Chelsea, the danger surrounding the plasma ring feels indistinguishable from the danger of her past. Think about how trauma works in the human mind as a specific example. Imagine standing in a vast, empty canyon and shouting, long after you stop speaking, the echoes continue to bounce off the walls, distorting the original sound until it becomes a terrifying, unrecognizable roar. Chelsea's past trauma with Allison is the original shout, and the current danger Smitty is bringing into their social circle is acting as the canyon walls, amplifying her panic. Kat is trying desperately to comfort her, but Kat is also being dragged into this vortex of anxiety. They are both beginning to realize that the secrets hidden in this town are far more interconnected and deadly than anyone ever imagined. The most chilling aspect of this entire situation is that the true identity of the Impaler remains largely unconfirmed to the wider public and even to some of our key players. This anonymity gives Heather an expansive, terrifying amount of room to operate in the shadows. She can walk through the community, smile at the residents, sip coffee at the local cafes, and orchestrate multiple downfalls simultaneously without anyone connecting the dots until it is far too late. If you ask me, we are standing on the precipice of an absolute catastrophe. Andre thinks a warning will save his marriage. Smitty thinks a journalistic award will validate his risks. Joey thinks Randy can keep Heather in check. They are all operating under the fatal illusion of control. But Heather is the only one actually writing the script. Will Andre's desperate threat trigger the very exposure he is trying to prevent? Will Smitty's ambition cost him everything he holds dear? And when Chelsea's trauma fully collides with the present danger, who will be left standing to pick up the pieces? We can only watch, wait, and brace ourselves for the inevitable explosion.